So you guys come at this from a religious angle. Does religion actually, your religion, because we got Islam and Christianity here, does religion actually promote polygyny? What are some examples?
Yeah, I will say that again, like Rob said earlier on, first you see countless examples throughout the entire Bible of men who had multiple wives, who God actually built the very 12 tribes of Israel, in the Bible with a polygynous family, uh, reaching the numbers that would not have been possible through monogamy only. Exodus 21:10 gives us clear prescriptive uh, instruction on what a man must do should he take a second wife. What he's not permitted to do is to ignore the rights of the first. You must be able to provide provision, protection, food for this wife, and you cannot diminish the rights of the first if you add additional wives. God doesn't go anywhere else in the Bible and say, well, if you want to murder somebody, this is how you do it righteously. If you're going to steal, this is how you're going to do it righteously. But when it comes to polygyny, that is a clear example of what God tells you, this is how to do it, and this is what, if you do it this way, it is in fact righteous in my sight.
This is a big debate in Islam for Muslims as to whether or not it's promoted. I personally believe it's promoted. There's a verse, it's called Surah An-Nisa, that means like the verse of the woman. And it said in there, I opened it just so I get it right. It says, then marry other women of your choice, two, three, or four. And some of the scholars of the past of Islam said, because in the Quran, Allah started with two, that's the status quo. Because he didn't say marry one, two, or three. He said marry two, three, or four. So in Islam, I believe it's promoted, but then you'll find a lot of even amongst Muslims, people are trying to push like more modern monogamous idea and concept upon us all. And when you really look at the text and you look at the lives of the people who surrounded Muhammad, peace be upon him, and how they lived, the narratives don't match. We're seeing a modernization attempts of the religion of all religions, which is actually an elimination of them, to be more precise. So I do believe Islam promotes it, but if you talk to many Muslims, they'll be like, no, no. But it's actually quite a heavy debate between like the more modernists and the more traditionalists.
Anthony, did you have something? I was going to add something. Go ahead.
Truth is eternal. It doesn't matter. Like you bring up the whole modernist thing. Yeah, I'm pretty disgusted by people who are, always trying to be politically correct or revise truth, regardless of what, position you take. Like, that's how I see God. He's eternal, always has been, always will be, is the word, it is the source of truth, is the truth. So I see it as a sign of weakness for people who would seek to twist the truth for whatever aims, whether they're scared of what other people say or they have an agenda. It's always because they have an agenda. But when someone is truly in obedience and submission to the Lord, then you become okay with the truth, whatever consequences come from it, whatever it means in your life, because you're fearing the Lord. You're not fearing the society. You're not fearing what other people say, and that goes as far as your family, your wife, the government, and even yourself. Like you completely subject yourself to the truth. And when you do that, life gets much better, even though there may be hardships and tribulations along the way. It's a whole lot better to be honest than to be um, sneaky and manipulative of the truth.
I'll just
And
add to
anybody
that.
says, that,
Go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead, Rob.
I was just going to add to that God says he's a God of the widow and the orphan. So when you look around and you see how many fatherless homes are out there and how many women can't find a husband, it's that whole thing, the letter of the law versus like the heart. Like clearly he wants women to be covered. The Bible's clear about that. Singleness is not for women. Singleness is for men. The Bible says that, the head of every man is Christ, but the head of every woman is man. So think about all these women that don't have heads. They don't have anyone to cover them. It would be like a not enough Christ for everybody to go around, right? So like a bunch of guys run around. There's just sorry, there's not enough Jesus for everybody. Like there's two women to every one man in the church right now in the United States. So that means millions of our Christian sisters have to marry unbelievers or stay single and childless. How cruel. because of some BS that did not come from God or God's people. It came from tradition. It came from Rome, which were pagans. The first converts were Jewish, and then after that, most of them were not Jewish, and they brought in their traditions. So this is why they call it romantic, one man, one woman. It didn't come from God's people. God's people were clearly polygynous. Just read. So like we have to get back to the truth, and then we have to start looking at the heart of God. And the heart of God would be if God said to Maverick, "Hey Maverick, I want you to marry the widow across the street with 3 kids," he's not going to go say, let me ask my pastor or let me ask my wife. He's going to say, "Yes, God, whatever you say." Right? That's how it should be with men of God. So yeah, I think that in this day and age, I think I think God would be very pleased with a man who covers more than one wife, given the vast need.
No, absolutely. And you set up my point exactly, which was, our God in the Christian Bible says that I am the same yesterday, today, and forever. So this other lie that this new covenant came in the New Testament and all of a sudden polygyny was done away with and those were only examples of the Old Testament. No, Christ himself said, no, I have not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill it. And not a single word or jot of the pen shall change from it until heaven and earth pass. Last time I checked, earth is still here. Heaven is still here. So nothing changes from the Old Testament. It's just simply that we have fulfilled, a lot of those promises that are to pass. But again, polygyny was never done away with. Like Rob said, it was strictly a Roman Greco ideology that came in later on. And all of a sudden, Council of Trent decided we're going to follow this, but not follow that. And we're going to, determine that this is canon, but this is not. And it's just, no, again, those are traditions of man. And anybody who is a truth seeker and really wants to abide by what God actually says on the topic is going to understand that polygyny still is very much a righteous form of a relationship.
Any other comments on this? Like it's this is like the only question that's 100% religion based, but all views
The
are
issue
good.
is like Satan's going to twist everything, right? He's always going to twist it. So what happens is because men are still wired for variety, we get scared because now they're telling you only get one for your whole life. Okay, so if I would have known about polygyny, I would have married my first girlfriend when I was 18 years old. I loved her enough. I didn't want to break her heart, but I just couldn't get my mind around choosing one of anything for the rest of my life. So instead, I did a constant catch and release over the next several years where I sleep with girls, throw them back in the water. Sleep with a girl, throw her back, right? Like waiting for this magical unicorn to come along that was going to make monogamy make sense to me. Never even question it, really. But what it does to men is it forces us to drag our feet and we stall out in the dating market. And you get the men that have all the options that can sleep with, can get more than one woman that would probably be polygynous. They just won't commit. So they got a rotation. And they're just keeping these girls hanging on, hoping that they're going to get the commitment. They're going to get the marriage at some point. And oftentimes they end up with a body count instead of a ring. So, Satan twisted it. And he also twisted the monogamy. Well, the monogamy only is from him. Nothing wrong with monogamy. None of us are saying that. It's monogamy only is when that's what causes all the problems. That's the thing that's unbiblical. You could be celibate, you could be monogamous, you could be polygynous. All of them are going to have their own challenges. And let's be honest, no relationship structure is perfect. You're going to have challenges if you're celibate, if you're alone. I did it for a long time. It ain't easy. You're going to have challenges in a monogamous relationship. You're going to have challenges in a polygynous relationship. Everyone will have challenges. And that's the thing that the church often likes to throw around is, oh, every polygynous relationship, they had problems. Well, Adam and Eve destroyed the freaking world. They were monogamous. Are you blaming monogamy for that? One of their sons murdered the other. I mean, come on, like that was not a bed of roses. So like, don't be foolish. Anything that we're saying here, just to add this and I'll be quiet, go research for yourself. Don't believe anything that we're saying. Open the Bible and look for yourself. Gosh, I wish someone would have told me to do that earlier in life because my life would have been completely different. I'd have a large family by now. Don't believe anything we're told. Don't even believe what your pastor says. Just open the Bible and research what we're saying.
And understand
Okay.
that the King James Version is, you have to do a little bit more beyond what we're giving them, just this English version. I mean, nowadays we have no excuses. We have the internet at our fingertips where we can easily access a concordance or a lexicon to see the original Hebrew text, the original Koine Greek text, to see how it was originally written. And you will find that many of the words in the scriptures that are used against polygyny don't mean what they say the church says that it means.
Yep.
It's an English butchering of God's word. And it's unfortunate. But again, now we don't have the excuses of, well, this is just what I was taught. I'm sure we were all taught this at one point in time, but we actually cared enough to do some research and dig deeper into what God's original word said. And we came to the truth in doing so. And at some of us at a heavy cost. But I, again, as a truth seeker, I will always side with God's truth over any earthly relationship that I may lose over it.
Can I jump in on a point again off of something Rob said? It's a very good point. And for anybody who's on the fence about polygyny, especially from a religious standpoint, because I think it's the same here for the rest of the panel. I can't support like just going out and sleeping around. As Muslims, it's not something that I can support. But if you're looking at polygyny from a religious standpoint, should I do it? Should I not do it? And people are using, like he said, the statement, it causes a lot of problems in the relationships. I've had this conversation with a lot of Muslim men, and I'm like, look at the divorce rate in, we call it the community, we'll just call it the Muslim community. It's pretty high right now. And I'm like, how many of those marriages were polygynous? And they're like, well, not a lot. I'm like, exactly. You're going to have problems no matter what. If you don't know how to navigate a relationship, period, whether you're monogamous or you're polygynous, you're gonna drop the ball. You're gonna fumble it. So the primary problem isn't polygyny. The primary problem is how you have not learned how to manage your relationship properly so that it doesn't fall apart. Polygyny isn't a factor. I tell men all the time, and I do consultations with men, be they Muslim or not Muslim. I don't care where you come from. You can talk to me. I'll try and help you out, because I want men to get married, have children, stay together, and be happy, because that's what I want for myself. And yeah, I'm getting old, man. I lost my point there.
I got a little train of thought that's related to that. So just 2 days ago, I released an article 2 days ago on a website called Dating Coworkers. I got some examples. So a lot of guys, this may seem off track a little bit, but it's similar to what I heard you say. A lot of guys will just look at the situation of dating coworkers and say, yeah, I'm not ever going to consider that. Like, that's too messy. That's too risky. But it doesn't change the fact that most people actually do it. So according to Forbes, 60% of people, of adults, end up in some kind of romantic relationship through the workplace. So the point I'm making here, let's not discuss coworkers and stuff like that, but there are a lot of people turned off by the idea of, I shouldn't date a coworker, but it doesn't, my introduction in the article was simply, I'm tired of people saying, don't shit where you eat, it's a bad idea and stuff like that, because it doesn't change the fact that people actually do it. It actually happens and stuff like that. But yeah, did you remember your point?
Let me say something. This may bring it back.
No, I didn't. Sorry.
Like what do I call you, Abu American? What is
you can call me Craig, actually. My name is Craig, but okay. That's my online name.
Yeah, I mean, monogamy only is a disaster, right? So people like to say throw rocks, but there's a 50% divorce rate, and the majority of those are even followed by women. So even though a woman will say that she wants, now I lost my point. God.
So you made an incredible point.
I remembered my point
earlier.
So we're ping ponging.
Oh, okay, there we
go.
My
point was
go ahead.
Point was that if you're considering it, go ahead, as long as as long as you have a good relationship with your current wife. And that's because more women, I say this all the time and I stand by it, more women are open to polygyny than you actually believe. Yeah. A lot of them will immediately say no, but that's a knee-jerk reaction, obviously. Absolutely. Yeah, and they're more into it. They're not, I wouldn't say into it, but they're more open to it than you might believe. So if you're considering it, don't let the naysayers, polygyny is going to cause a lot of problems. You either have problems or you don't. Yeah. Either you're good with women or not. We
got a question on that coming up, so that's going to be perfect.
Let me just
probably after this. Go ahead.
I remember what I wanted to say is that the beauty of polygyny is yes, he talked about the high divorce rate amongst monogamy only, and if you look at it, with polygyny, a woman can look at a man's track record. So a woman that maybe Maverick's considering, she could just look at, he's got a resume. How's he treating his first two wives? Well, he's a pretty good husband. Look, he provides for them. So right now, of course, you got a high divorce rate under monogamy. You got a bunch of men that were never tested. Why would we tell the most capable men amongst us that they can only have one? That doesn't even make sense. The most capable men should cover more than one. right? Men who aren't capable shouldn't get any. And that's a biblical principle, you know, it says to him who has, he'll be given more, and to whom has not, even what he has will be taken away. So this is fairness. Everybody gets one. That's not from God. Like, no, we need to let the most capable men, and they, again, that's a much safer choice for a woman versus marrying a man. She doesn't know what kind of man she's going to get once he gets into marriage. Is he going to beat her? Is he going to provide? Is he going to be a deadbeat? A man that's got a wife and a track record, much safer choice.
I really like what you said earlier about the kind of effect it has for like a better term where you say you where previously when you were younger you would do catch and release, and then what happens in society when everyone's doing catch and release because they were not getting into any kinds of relationships at all is everyone just has sex with more people in general and the average just goes up. And then like you said, there are women who were just like still attached to rotations, thinking eventually I'm gonna be his exclusive woman, but you're currently not exclusive. So it's like it's a strange thing that is like
Can I jump in on
why
that
would that be
point?
even any better when then I don't know. Go ahead.
I'd like to jump in on that point too. And guys, be careful with this. Any guys that are out there, like from the PUA pickup artist scene or whatever else, and you think, yeah, I'm gonna marry multiple women after being in the scene and betting a lot of women. That's difficult to untrain. I know that because I was good with women before I became Muslim, and I had to untrain myself from the sleeping around behaviors and mentalities to long-term relationship behaviors and mentalities, and they're not the same. You know, betting women and actually living with them in a good way, to where it's like you have long, continuous relationships and families, like myself, I think the gentleman here also, that's two totally different things. Don't think that you have to, sleep around with a lot of women in order to be good in a polygynous relationship. That's not correct. It's probably detrimental to you maintaining a relationship because it's easy to think, okay, you know what? It's like it's the life of an attractive woman when you're good with women, in the same sense that they don't have to concentrate on how to take care of my man and stay with him to where it's like he wants to keep me. So you gain that same mentality and behavior where you start like, oh, okay, well, she wants to act up, I'll just rotate to another one. And it's hard to train yourself out of that, so make sure you guys don't fall for that like error, that mistake. There's a lot of the internet talking about that, sleep around, do this, do that, experience, rack up numbers. It's not necessary. Sure, it might be nice, but you know, long term, if you're looking for like a family and a stable family and relationships, it's gonna cause you a lot of problems, in my humble opinion.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
no, I can agree. I actually came from a failed marriage before my two wives that I currently have now, and in that was an open relationship, more type of marriage where I was just acting on fleshly desires. Again, total ladies' man, doing what I was doing, and that marriage ended horribly just because, again, I was more concerned with how many women can I get and how much fun can I have than truly being a righteous, good husband
Understand.
and looking to
Yeah,
cover,
I understand.
my protect my women the way God wants me to protect my women and to lead my women. So it's I have a little bit of experience on both sides of the coin of doing the party thing, the party scene, and what have you. And interestingly enough, as Rob can attest, it's the world didn't have a problem with that. None of my personal friends, none of my family, my brothers, my cousins, well, that's just who he is. He's that type of guy. He's just a man whore. Oh well, we love him anyway. But the moment I became a righteous, wanting to do it for the correct, godly reasons, all of a sudden I lost everybody. They
Yeah,
all
yeah, yeah.
they all close their doors on me. Oh my God, he wants to take multiple wives. That's just, and that's again, that's Satan. That's Satan's doing exactly what
Absolutely.
he's done is planting
Absolutely.
that seed and saying, hey, don't do it for the right reasons. Go ahead and do it for the worldly reasons, and everybody will accept you.
Mm.
But
Can
God
I
says,
jump in there,
we're not of
Maverick?
this world.
That is
Yep, go ahead.
absolutely true. In Islam, there was a time when Satan, he was in heaven and he disobeyed God. He disobeyed Allah. And he was banished from heaven. And he promised, he said, I will misguide mankind. I will make their evil deeds seem fair.
Mm.
So I will make them think right is wrong, and I'll make them think good is bad. You can't tell me that that's not what we're seeing in not just this topic, but many
Yeah.
topics nowadays. Everything's flipped on its head.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a clear sign that unfortunately, it seems like he's winning the war, the battles. Maybe not the war, but currently he's head up on the battles. He's got a lead.
I
And
just want to I want to piggyback on that because like I really do think that polygyny, biblical polygyny being as an option is really the missing link in all this because yeah, a lot of red pill, they get things, they do get a lot of things right with hypergamy and female promiscuity, but the prescriptions that they give is not good. It doesn't solve the problem. And actually, I was very promiscuous. I slept with hundreds of women, I think probably over 500. It just leaves you empty. It's fun in the moment. It is. It's fun while you're doing it. But then Monday I would look in the mirror and I would just like feel, you know, I would feel gross. I'd feel empty is the best way to describe it. So I don't think this is just the right thing. I think it's the better thing. And I think Satan just duped us. Because imagine if you had a bunch, 4 or 5 wives and all these kids, you built a legacy and you're actually making a positive difference in the world and they're all helping you with your mission. And you come home and daddy, and all these women around you that love you and get along. Dude, that's so much better than just spinning plates, right? But the devil
amazing.
duped us and he made us think because of this monogamy only thing. And here's the thing, going back to I think what Craig said, it's like you said a lot of women aren't so against this. Yes, the idea of it they don't like because they've been indoctrinated, but 80% of the divorces are filed by women under monogamy only. So something that because what happens is you lose the polarity, right? So what makes a relationship great is if you get a masculine man and a feminine woman, because then it's like a magnet and metal. They're going to stick together a lot better. But monogamy
Absolutely.
only creates this egalitarianism where we're kind of like equals. And we're both kind of in our, she's more in her masculine, and you're more in your feminine. And now all of a sudden, guess what? She gets bored. She files for divorce. Women need a little bit of drama. I mean, this is why they watch the
Yeah.
shows they watch, and they always, they like to gossip a little bit. They need a little drama to keep them interested. And I think even if you never practice polygyny, I say it just needs to be on the table. A woman needs to know this is my right. I may or may not, because then she knows that we're not equals. As bad as that sounds, I'm the man and you're the woman. I have the right, you do not. If God tells me to, I will, and I'm not going to ask for your permission. Now we'll talk about it again. You're my number one advisor. I love you. But you're not going to get veto power on this. And that automatically pushes her into her feminine and you into your masculine. And I believe it'll divorce proof your life. But Satan gave us this, to what Craig said, he's confused everything. He's twisted everything. And monogamy only is like the biggest psyop that's ever been perpetrated on humanity, in my opinion. Not
Thank
monogamy,
you,
but
man.
Hold
it
on,
really
hold on.
is.
We got some interesting stuff going on in the chat. Mr.
Uh-oh.
Lucario just comment.
Oh,
You guys know
Lucario.
who? Yeah, we love Lucario. Sleeping with lots of women never left me empty. LMAO.
It left something empty.
You know what? I mean, I can attest to that comment right there because again, I was in the thousands. I mean, I literally was just changing my women like I changed my underwear and socks, man. And I can agree with Rob. In the moment, I think it was fun. And I even said, if I was a selfish individual, everybody, oh, you want multiple wives because you're just acting on your lust or you want to live selfishly. If I wanted to live selfishly, I'd be single. I'd have zero wives because it's a heck of a lot less of responsibility that I have on my plate. I don't have to worry about anybody else's feelings other than my own. And sometimes that is a great feeling. However, I will say this that at the end of the day, when I was sleeping with all these women, uh, they'd come and they go. And there was no sense of real loyalty there. And that's what I think I missed. I longed for somebody who I knew was going to have my back and be next to me and ride with me no matter what, no matter through the good, through the bad, through the ugly, they were going to be there. And in the hookup culture of my time, I wasn't getting that because in the morning they were gone. It was a great night, but then I was faced to face that following day by myself. So I think that's really ultimately what I personally missed when I was in that hookup culture.
Yeah.
Can I address Lucario? Because Lucario, like myself, is an African American, and I want to say
Go
that
ahead.
we're gonna have to be real here. Let me get politically incorrect. African Americans, we are built different, and I'm not saying that like we're superior or something. We're just different. The one thing we don't like to do in the modern age is address ethnic differences between people, be it like testosterone levels, intelligence levels, all these types of things. African Americans in general, even when we look at the women, we have a very, very, very powerful connection to sexuality that I would put at borderline unhealthy, so that you don't feel empty after doing all these types of things. This is, I think, more of an ethnic thing that needs to be controlled more than ever. The older you get, the less of a problem, or not, I'll call it a problem. It's a problem. There's a problem if you're going around sleeping with thousands, not thousands. I'm not picking on Maverick here, but I'm just saying, what are we doing to society as
Yes.
men?
Yes.
What are we doing to society as a man? And if you don't look at the African American community specifically and think, man, there's a problem. And a lot of this is related to the lack of control of the lower parts. These are base desires. They're not problematic, but they are base desires. And they have their time and their place. They do have to be controlled. You can release them with your partners. If you don't think that there's a problem there, if you don't feel like something, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Lucario, I'm not crapping on you, brother, but that's a problem, brother.
I would add to that.
Would you call Mr. Lucario an agent of Satan?
That's a harsh statement.
No.
I wouldn't call him an agent of Satan, but a lot of times people, they take actions under the guise of freedom that makes them a tool. And a tool, is it aware? No. It's used for a purpose and it's put back down. Whether that purpose you can build a house with a hammer, or you can kill someone with it. The hammer is unaware of its actions in that sense. And I think people are along that same line because people have given up the idea of there's good and bad, that there's God and that there's, a devil. People have given up this concept altogether. So you make yourself open to the attacks easier when you don't have this concept in your head that I need to protect myself, spiritually, which spiritually can infect your intellect, because what the heart desires, your mind starts plotting, how do I get it? And what's the devil? We say in Islam, the devil, what does he do? He goes waswasa, whisper, whisper to the heart. What's in the heart comes out on the tongue, comes out in the limbs. So I wouldn't call him an agent of the devil. I think he's probably a victim. Because everybody nowadays, we've all been victims at some point.
He has some new stuff in the chat here. He's saying, nah, it's just sex, my guy. And Satan and God are the same thing. Lower and higher consciousness. You have God and Satan within you. Interesting.
Well, yeah. So this is what I would add is like, this is the thing that irks me about Red Pill is like they tell men to be masculine, right? Like man up, level up, but then they encourage them to capitalize on the problems, right? So that's kind of effeminate. If you watch a superhero movie, he doesn't take advantage of the weak, right? He saves the day. He sacrifices to save the day, or so it's kind of the effeminate path to not be able to control your desires and just go out and bust nuts and women and make the problem worse, because that's really what you're doing, right? You're complaining about female promiscuity, but then it's like there's the world's on fire and you brought marshmallows, right? Like, okay, no, dude, man up, right? That's what a real man does. Now, I do think deep down, all of us want to make a positive contribution to society or the world. That's where I think the emptiness comes from, because you're not really doing anything. What's your purpose? Because I believe a man that doesn't know his purpose is always going to divert to pleasure. So if you're out chasing skirts, what are you doing with your life? That would be the bigger question, because we're here to do something. Every man is here for a specific reason, I believe. So like me, when I'm on my mission, I'm not thinking about pussy all that much, right? I'm thinking about achieving my mission. Now I hope that I'm going to marry different women that can help me get to the goal faster, because I believe women are helpmates. So my first wife's amazing. She helps me in a lot of ways, but I might meet another woman that I go, whoa, she's really good administratively. She could really help me in my business. This one's great with kids. She could take care of the kids while my wife does it. I could build a whole team of women, helpmates, to help me get to the bag, to achieve my mission, instead of just like busting nuts and making the problem worse and possibly making a bunch of fatherless homes, dude. Like, of course there's evil in the world. That's evil. Like, look at how fatherless kids raised in fatherless homes do. They do terrible. So if you contribute to that, shame on you.
Interesting. We got just going up in the chat a bit more, just a little bit related to this question, and then I'll jump on to the next question. There's a guy in the chat called John. He's saying, I'm split about this because the Bible says to not multiply wives. And I don't know how to pronounce this, Deuteronomy
17:17.
Deuteronomy 17:17, he shall not multiply wives for himself, or else his heart will turn away, nor shall he greatly increase silver and gold for himself. Can any of you guys explain this?
I'll let Maverick take
Yeah,
this one.
absolutely. Okay, yeah. So yes, in Deuteronomy, it is that specifically one for an Israeli king that instruction is going to, and it is a commandment that was given to see exactly what should not happen should you multiply, not add, but it's talking about in abundance.
Hoard.
And that if you take something, anything, too much of anything is going to be detrimental to you. Now, he's also talking about what happened with King Solomon, which was taking foreign wives, unequally yoked believers, people who are not going to help you again accomplish the mission that God has given you. That's why in the following next verses it says, "Thou shalt not multiply gold or horses." So you're telling a king to then only have one piece of gold, only have one horse. That was referring to military. It's not putting all your eggs into focusing on just military, just wealth, just multiplying all of these women. That was actually what the commandment was given for an Israeli king. So if you wanted to go twofold, you can go about it and say, well, that's prescription for an Israeli king. Are you an Israeli king? If you're not, then that doesn't apply to you. But if you are applying it in a general state, and you're looking at the words for what they actually mean, it's again to not do this in abundance because it could be detrimental to, again, if you're a real leader and you're kings of your home, how can you accomplish your mission if you've got hundreds of wives, hundreds amounts of concubines? You're going to be so focused on getting that, you're not going to be able to focus on really what your mission is. More like what Rob says, when you find women that are actually going to help you accomplish your mission and you add to your home to accomplish what God has put you to do, that is what that scripture is talking about, why an Israeli king should not do that, lest their heart be turned away from God.
Yeah, the word multiply means hoard. Don't hoard them, right? It's a hard issue.
Correct.
Again, I don't think John would call a king with two horses a sinner, right? You wouldn't accuse him of being in sin, would you, if you had two horses? Of course not. But so you got to be consistent because the same word that was used for wives was used for golden horses. So again, that's just there's a lot of these common ones that we see, these arguments that you've been told, these lies that you've been told by the church, and every one of them is very easily explained. And you can go verify it again. Just go back and go to Strong's Concordance online and see if what Maverick said was right. And it's very easy to verify. But now there's a few standard arguments that you hear over and over, and you can tell that people haven't looked a layer any deeper than the surface layer. Because once and look, I was guilty of this. I was a Christian for 23 years before I ever really looked and researched it. And then it was very easy to find. So I would just encourage John to, check into everything that we're saying.